Starting with draft 1, sent in via Dylan, it's a 3-4-3 with Flecken in goal, Pedro Porro, Saliba and Michaelenko making up the back three. Check this midfield out. Son, Bruno Fernandes, Foden and Mohamed Salah. That's a star-studded team. Up front's not too bad either. João Pedro, Darwin Núñez and Isaac. That makes up the starting 11. Let's have a look at the bench. He's gone for Turner, Anderson, Colwell and Anthony. I'm not the biggest fan of Flecken in goal, mainly because of his first 6 fixtures. I know goalkeepers are for the whole season, but ideally I want a good start to the season. And when I see that he's got Crystal Palace, Liverpool, Man City, Tottenham, West Ham, all in the first 6 games, I'm not the biggest fan. I'm hoping there's a better alternative there. Pedro Porro clearly in for his assists as Tottenham struggle to keep clean sheets. 5.5 million, I'm not too sure on that one. Saliba speaks for himself, one of the best defenders playing for the best defense. If Everton can keep the clean sheets they did last season, they kept 13, which is second, tied with Manchester City, then Michaelenko would be a lovely pick. But it remains to be seen, plus his fitness. Can he stay fit and keep his position? Midfield, Son, people think he's finished, he's getting on a little bit. I still think there's a lot of football left in him. If he plays up front, I love him. If he plays left wing, I'm not too sure about him. £10 million cheaper than Saka this season. Very interesting. If he's got penalties and he's playing up top, this guy could cause a lot of havoc and be captain material. Bruno Fernandes, again, we saw even in the Euros, the vision, the passing, the work rate, still a top player. Foden, don't need to say much about him. He's established himself as one of the best players in the Premier League. And Mohamed Salah, an FPL veteran. João Pedro seems the bargain this season. 5.5 million for a penalty taker, playing for Brighton under new management who's very, very attacking. This could be a gem, but we need to see. There was rumours the other day that he actually could be sold. So let's see pre-season. Let's see what the manager says about him. But if he is locked for minutes, I think he'll be in most people's teams. Darwin Núñez, exciting, interesting, terrifying pick. The reason is you saw last season, he broke the record for hitting the woodwork. Shots he should finish, hits the goalkeeper, just a very frustrating on. Having said that, he scored 11 goals, 11 assists, and if Slot selects him as the main number 9, that could be in a big pick there, 7.5 million. Last but not least, up top is Isaac. Love him as a player, top bracket striker. I think he could play for most teams in the Premier League. In fact, every team in the Premier League. Can he stay fit is the only question mark. Other than that, Newcastle, excellent fixtures. He's got excellent price. He's even captain material. No question, he's going to be very, very highly owned. I'm going to give you 3 pros and 3 cons. The 3 pros. It's a balanced team. When you look at this team, the money spent well. It's not like 3 big hitters and then 7 players that are 4.5 million. No, the team is well balanced through the goalkeepers, the defense, throughout the whole team. So that's a good thing. In theory, you should be able to bank a couple of transfers. And with the new rule change, who knows, this team could give you 3-4 transfers in the bank. Captain pick, he's locked that down, Dylan, as he's got Mohamed Salah in there. First 6 fixtures are excellent. You can just leave it on him. No issues at all. But in theory, if Son turns up or Isaac, there's 3 captain candidates for me in this team. The midfield is stacked. Just look at it. Elite players everywhere. Bruno Fernandes, Son, Foden. It's just top bracket players. And the points we saw last season, the points were in midfield. The 3 cons, I'm going to start with Núñez. Now, when you look at him, I said all the good stuff about him earlier on, but the reality is frustrating. Also, the rotation. Slot has 4 attackers for 2 positions. Diaz, Núñez, Jota and Gakpo. All good players. Who's starting? So it's a bit scary there. That's one I'm not biggest fan of at the moment until I see pre-season and see where he figures. Where is he in that list? Bruno assisting who? Now I've put that down because we know Bruno Fernandes is an elite player. He's passing, his vision, he's not scared to break the lines of his passes. Not a problem. Problem is, he had Anthony, Garnacho, he had Haaland up top. Now they've got a new forward as well. Sancho's back. Is that good enough? It's all good having all the assist quality, but you need your strikers to finish their dinner. And if they're not doing it, I'm not sure if he's going to be worthwhile having in your team. There might be better alternatives there. And last but not least is the bench minutes. That's the last con I could think of. He's got Colwell. I'm not sure. Does he take Silva's position now he's left at Chelsea? And then Anthony didn't really play last season. So that's the only thing I could think of. Looking at the pros and cons, I give this team a 7. Let me know what you think. Get in the comments and tell me if you agree or you think this team. Draft 2 sent in via Claire. It's a 3-5-2 this time, starting with Pickford in goal. Then we've got Saliba, Vardio and Burn making up the back 3. The midfield 5 is Callum, Mohamed Salah, Odegaard, Nkunku and Foden. And the 2 up front are Isaac and Watkins. So that's the starting 11. Bench is Verbreggen, Pedro, Konsa and Hull. So that's the 15-man squad. Pickford, We saw what he done to us last season. Most of us owned him at the start. He trolled us, never kept one clean sheet. We sold him. He couldn't stop keeping clean sheets. Honestly, very frustrating. He's a bit more expensive this season. He's 5 million, but guess what? A lot are thinking he's going to be worth it, especially if Daesh can replicate that defensive strength that got them 13 clean sheets and kept them in the Premier League. Saliba and Vardy, so you got two solid picks instantly from the two best defenses. And then Burn, who's going to be very, very popular, mainly because Newcastle's fixtures are really good. Newcastle started the season with Southampton, Bournemouth, Tottenham, Wolves, Fulham and Manchester City. It's a decent opening 6 fixtures there. Interesting midfield we've got here. We've got Callum, Mohamed Salah, we've got Odegaard, and Nkunku and Foden. Up top, Isak, as I said, is going to be very popular again because of Newcastle's fixtures and just how we finished last season. Very, very strong. And Watkins, arguably the 2 best strikers. I mean, we won't mention Haaland here, but the 2 best strikers. Nkunku is at that price point where he could break the game. He's the marquee player that Chelsea bought. We never got to see him and hopefully enjoy his level of football because injury took majority of his minutes, unfortunately. But if he has a good pre-season and is locked in his attack, whether it's through the middle, which is unlikely as Jackson actually done pretty good, or it's via the left, he's going to be an exciting pick and I expect him to be in loads of people's teams. That price point is just too cheap. Odegaard's another interesting one. You can see the temptation because Saka's quite expensive. You're saving 2 million if you go him. You're assured with the minutes as he's the captain. I mean, he's an elite player. But what I will say, is he going to get as many goals as Saka or even Trossard and Martinelli if those two get the minutes, or Havertz up top who's 8 million? So it makes you think, I'm not sure he's the best Arsenal option. One of the pros of this team is the strong bench. When you've got 2 players who are starting, and not just starting, you can actually rotate them. So for example, Claire could easily rest Callum and play João Pedro depending on fixture. She could rest Burn and play Konsa because they're that level of quality. So that's an excellent bench. The third one is a bonus if they get minutes, but very rare you go 3 deep into your bench. But 2 that strong is a big plus. The captain pick is locked down. She's got Mohamed Salah. The first 6 fixtures are gorgeous, so she could leave it on him permanently. But there is alternatives there. You could easily go Isak or Watkins for me. And the defense is so strong. 2 premium defenders for the 2 best defenses. And Burn, very cheap. In theory, if Newcastle can recapture that early form they had last season, he would be a gem and again would be very popular. The cons, I think there's a lack of big hitters in the midfield. We've got Mohamed Salah, of course. We've got the 2 up top, no problem. But you'd like to think you'd want another option that you could potentially captain in midfield. I look at it, yes, Phil Foden, Nkunku, Odegaard, all excellent players. But would you captain them? That tells me potentially there's someone missing, whether it's someone like a Son or a Saka or a Palmer, that level of midfielder. And the last thing I can think of is no Haaland. We're not even sure if this is going to be a con because he's so expensive. In theory, if you don't own him, you can have 2 players. But those 2 players, would you captain them where with Haaland, we know he was a perma-captain. He's that comfort blanket. You're going to get at least 16 points every weekend with Haaland. Taking all of that into consideration, I actually like this draft and I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. Let me know what you think. Draft number 3, sent in via Paul Powell. He's gone for a 3-4-3, starting with Turner in goal, Ben White, Burn and Guehi. The midfield 4 is Saka, Diego Jota, Gibbs White and Bernardo Silva. Up top, he's gone for Mateta, Haaland and Isak. So that's the starting 11. The bench, he's got Virginia, Nori, Gallagher and Van der Ven. Is that 6.5 worth it for Ben White? Or is it better to go for 6 million Saliba? Save that 0.5 and you're more than likely going to get just the same clean sheets. Or is Ben White going to keep that attacking form going, that how he finished last season? It's going to be interesting to see what Arteta does there. But it's a solid pick regardless. Burn we've already spoken about, and Guehi had an excellent Euros. He was England's standout player. It'll be interesting to see if he actually stays at Palace. I know a lot of clubs are already looking at him. Whether they can get him this summer might be unrealistic, but still, top player and a good pick. The midfield's actually interesting. It starts off with Saka. Solid, reliable FPL pick. The last 2 years he's been just an elite player for Arsenal and England. Then you got Jota. We all love him. He's been reclassified as a midfielder again and he's only 7.5 million. We just need to know Slot likes him and starts him. If he starts in the number 9 position ahead of Darwin Núñez, he will break the game. He just needs to stay fit and lock that position down and we will all be there. Gibbs White is an interesting pick, 6.5 million, clearly the talisman for Nottingham Forest and finished on 142 points last season. So it was an impressive season. You'd like to think he's going to add and improve on that. Another midfielder at 6.5, Bernardo Silva, an interesting pick. I don't think a lot of people go for him. Very steady. Obviously, minutes are pretty locked. Pep loves him. In this case, though, we know he's been trying to leave Manchester City for a couple of seasons. Whether they grant him that this summer and allow him to go remains to be seen. Pre-season, keep an eye on that one there. Up top, Mateta, he finished the season like R9. My goodness, what a finish to the season. I love that pick. Let's hope he can start the season like that. Then it really will make it exciting in the striker's position. Haaland, what can we say? You know what you're paying. £15 million. Elite FPL machine. And last but not least, Isak. He's a very popular player, isn't it? You can tell by all the drafts I've shown so far. The first pro I'm going to start with is Haaland in. Now, it's an interesting one. Once you put him into your team, you've locked in your captaincy. Peace of mind, no headache there. But it is £15 million. But still, this is a player. You've seen the last 2 seasons what he's achieved. And he's had a summer off. So no Euros. Can you imagine how fit and how ready he's going to be? He's going to be looking to break Premier League records. So yeah, it has to go down as a pro. Strong attack. When I see Mateta, Haaland, Isak, I love that front three. Just see points there. And the last pro I'm going to give you is a strong bench. I mean, look at it. Nori, Gallagher, and Van der Ven. That's ridiculous. All 3 of them, even if you ever reach the stage where you need your 3rd sub, you're in luck because all of them are excellent to bring on. I mean, me personally, maybe too much money spent on the bench there, but regardless. Now for the cons, starting with Jota, rotation. 2 things with Jota. First of all, he can't seem to stay fit. Whenever Liverpool get happy and he's banging in goals and we're all excited, he gets injured. But the second part, again, like I said with Darwin Núñez earlier on, is the rotation. 4 attackers for 2 positions. Is he going to be the main guy on the slot? So you need to keep an eye on that. Bernardo Silva, for some reason, I'm not the biggest fan of this pick. I looked at his points and it's not too bad. And for his price, 6.5 million, I still put him down. I think there's better midfielders with hopefully bigger ceiling. And last but not least, is Turner's in your goal. I'm not sure he's going to start. I've already said earlier on regarding sales. This team here has way too many issues for me. I wouldn't be comfortable starting the season with it. So I'm going to give it a 5. The next draft has been sent in via Rams, K Vagworks, and he's gone for a 3-5-2 with Azabalaga in goal, Burn, Konza, and Cucurella in defense. Midfield, Eze, Callum, Salah, Foden, and Nkunku, and up top, Isak and Haaland. Bench, he's got Turner, Ujo, Mekhilenko, and Vestergaard. So that's the 15-man squad. Azabalaga in goal, I'm not quite sure. We know there could be a potential bargain in that Chelsea goal because we're 4.5 million, but we're not sure who's starting, so we need pre-season. The rest of the defense is pretty cheap, but Cucurella had a very interesting Euros. He was excellent, proved a lot of people wrong. I love the Eze pick. We've got Callum in there, who's a 6.5 enabler. Then we've got Salah, obviously FPL royalty, Foden, and Nkunku. So the 3 pros for this team, instantaneously, you have Haaland and Salah. It's unique. I've not seen another draft of it. 2 massive hitters in FPL, but also the budget they take. So it's a big pro, but there's also a little con there. They eat up a lot of your money. The attack in this team, look how strong it is. There's pure goals and assists. The last pro is the captaincy. Of course, you've got the 2 best captains, which is Salah and Haaland, but you've also got Isak if you need it. So I see 3 captains in this team. The cons in this team, you're starting with double Chelsea defense, which could turn out to be okay, but the first game is Manchester City. It's not ideal way to start game week 1, but I agree. If you're looking further ahead, the Chelsea fixtures are not too bad. After Man City, they have Wolves, Crystal Palace, Bournemouth, West Ham, and Brighton. It's not too bad. So if you can grit your teeth for the first game, after that, you could be onto something. You might be 1 transfer ahead of the majority of other teams. The other con is the team balance. When you have Salah and Haaland, look how many budget players you needed to have. The Burns, Konzas, keeper, you've got a Callum, look at your bench. You have to make sacrifices, which is not a problem because if the 2 big hitters deliver for you, most people have to break their team to bring one of them in because they're so expensive, so you're ahead again. And last but not least is the bench. Ojo doesn't play. Mekhilenko's not too bad, and I'm not sure on Vestergaard. Not sure you're going to want him to utilize him most of the week. So it looks like to me it's 1 solid pick there. You'd ideally want 2 solid picks. This team gets a 6 for me. What do you think? Get in the comments and let me know if you agree. And the last draft, draft 5, is sent in via FPL Nova, and he's gone for a 3-5-2 as well. He's gone for Flecken in goal, Burn, Vardiol, and Gabriel in defense. This midfield 5 is pretty nice. Have a look. Saka, Salah, Gordon, Eze, and Rashford. Interesting. Up top, Isak and Watkins. That's a gorgeous starting 11. Look at the bench. He's got Ward, Tuzembi, Konsa, and Ujo. Flecken, I spoke about him earlier on. I'm not sure about Brentford's opening fixtures. They're not the easiest, so I'm not sure if there's an alternative, a better goalkeeper there. Burn, very popular. Vardio and Gabriel, so 2 defenders, 2 premium defenders from 2 of the best defenses in the league. Makes perfect sense starting the season with a strong defense. Midfield is very interesting. He's got Eze and Rashford. Rashford being the interesting pick here. And then up top, certified strikers. We don't even need to talk about them. So we're going to go straight into the 3 pros. 2 premium defenders. As I said, he wants to start the season strong, even though their fixtures are not ideal actually. The first 6 fixtures for Arsenal and Manchester City are pretty challenging when I look at compared to other teams. The next pro I'm going to give him is a strong attack. That midfield and that up front, goals and assists everywhere. Fixtures are pretty decent. I won't go through all of them, but like for example Newcastle and Gordon, they've got lovely fixtures, and Gordon last season was ridiculous, and I think he's priced pretty good this season. Because not been in many drafts, I think people are sleeping on it. The third pro is a balanced team. Because he hasn't got Haaland, he can spread the funds around. It's a balanced team. When you look at it, it's not filled with 4.5 million players all over the gaff to try and give you enablers. No, he's gone for a very balanced team with Salah, Saka, 2 players he can captain under 2 forwards. So it's a solid team. Looking at the cons, the first one is Flecken fixtures. I already touched on that. I'm not the most comfortable. I would personally look for an alternative. Rashford's my second one. Now, we know that 2 seasons ago, Rashford looked a serious player. I mean, he was touted. Everyone wanted him around the world. He was just hot property. Last season, he didn't look in a good place. He was far off it to the level where they're playing Garnacho and Anthony ahead of him, so it's not a good look for him. There was murmurs of him even going PSG or making a move to try and kickstart his career. Looks like he's going to have another season at Manchester United. It'll be interesting to see if we get the old Rashford back. If he does, this midfield is really popping. And the bench, I'm not sure about Ojo. I don't think he plays. Tunzembe, again, not sure you're going to want to utilize him, which means Konsa, 1 solid defender. I mean, to be fair, you've got 1.5. Let's just say that there. I like this team, so I'm going to give it a 7. I hope you enjoyed the video. I want to say a big thank you to everyone who sent me their drafts. Claire, Rams, Dylan, Paul and Nova. Really appreciate that. I'll be doing more of these videos. So if you do want to send in your draft again, there's all my socials you can see on the screen. Tweet them to me and I'll be ready for the next video. Get in the comments and let me know which team you think is the best team. Do you agree with the one I gave? I think I gave Claire an 8. That was the winner for this video. Let me know what you think. On that note, I'll see you in the next video.